maybe we need a schism, and maybe we need a schism with the so far progressive left. I want to read something. Our country should be more fearful of white men because they're causing most of the deaths within this country. Ilhan Omar. Lady, why don't you just get out the Democratic Party?
Jimmy, I'm going to give you a piece of advice. I know it's going to sound mean because it's coming from what you consider to be your enemy on the right. But Jimmy, I'm here to help. I really am. And I want to help you. What you just said, you understand what Ilhan Omar and the leftist women who now run the Democratic Party are going to do with the advice you've just given them? They're going to ignore it, and they're going to ignore you. You know why? Because you're male, pale, and stale. They are done with you, despite the fact they're getting ready to launch another male for 2028.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth. Somebody on the top of the line!
Hi, I'm Pastor Marty. Welcome to the Afternoon Drive. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, and once you are, smack the bell, click the word all. That will give you notification of my rants, my ravings, my undeniably flawless reasonings. Please like and share this video. It's the only way that we get the word out that we're here. Thank you so much for watching and being a part of the Afternoon Drive. The Democrats have completely gone insane, and Donald Trump is the reason for that. And it isn't just Trump derangement syndrome. It is the fact that his first tenure, he didn't really understand just how entrenched the swamp was, and that the swamp wasn't just a leftist thing he had to fight. He had to fight within his own party, and he spent most of his first presidency trying to figure out who his real friends were, and he didn't have many in Washington. Donald Trump goes into this term much stronger, much smarter, much more savvy, and he is just scoring win after win after win, and the Democrats are losing their mind because they keep losing the narrative. You now finally have some U.S. judges that are stepping in saying, hey, he really is the commander-in-chief. He really is the chief executive officer. And if he has declared that we have an invasion going on, and under the Enemy Aliens Act, he has the right to deport these people back to whence they came from. He goes over to the Middle East. He is securing peace. He is securing trade deals. He is running circles and alleviating Russia and other nations out and bringing back over $1.2 trillion to the United States. And even members of the former Biden administration are saying what he's pulled off in the Middle East is rather impressive. He's closed the border. He has completely allowed the Democrats to go all in on narratives that have ended up blowing up in their face like the Maryland man. Notice they don't talk about him anymore because he is a gangbanger, a wife beater. They've got the video footage with the officers had him pulled over as he's trafficking human beings. I mean, they keep losing. And the more they keep losing, they keep raging. And then they keep, like Hakeem Jeffries, talking about things that, are you reading the latest news? You know, Hakeem Jeffries is still out there talking about the price of eggs, which have dropped 49% in a month. We have the lowest inflation rate in 4 years under President Trump, to where now even the Fed is looking at it saying, okay, inflation is stabilizing at about that sweet spot of 2%. We can start lowering interest rates. Here we go, baby. Gas is down, groceries are down, other things are coming down, and the trade war, the so-called tariffs that were going to spark a depression greater than what happened in 1929, the stock market is rocking like it hasn't in years. And you've got every country on board but China, and China is coming on board. And at this point, he's rocking. And the Democrats are just flailing to the point they are fighting themselves. And this is great. You've got Jasmine the Crotch out there talking about that she knows in 2028 they're getting ready to launch another white boy to be president. By the way, that's going to be Governor Pritzker. That's the Pastor Marty prediction. It's not going to be Gavin Newsom. He's got way too much damage and baggage of how abysmal and pitiful California is, and he cannot run on that, and he knows it. It's going to be Governor Pritzker, because America is clamoring for Chris Christie 2.0. No, they're not. Literally, he is just another pontificating blimp who thinks he's God's gift to politics, and all he is what Chris Christie is or used to be, pretending to be a Republican, but in reality, he was just another cog in the Democratic machine. Well, that's Pritzker, and we'll take care of him in time. But the leftist women have declared war on men. And James Carville, he's had enough.
Maybe we need a schism, and maybe we need a schism with the so far progressive left. I want to read something. Our country should be more fearful of white men because they're causing most of the deaths within this country. Ilhan Omar. Lady, why don't you just get out the Democratic Party? Honestly, start your own movement. All right, let's do the simple math. Probably 69%, I don't know, we could call Jim Gerstein or Jeff Garrett. Roughly 69% of the people going to vote in November, maybe more. Let's do 70 for just round math, are going to be white. Of that, 48%. Maybe a little more are going to be male. So that's roughly, let's just call it 33 1/3% of the entire election. Well, let's just run against them because that's so goddamn smart.
Just like a woman.
All right. So now we're going to have a campaign by the progressive left against white men who vote about a third of everybody that votes in an election. Why don't you, lady, start your own party? Goddamn, these people are just helpless. They cannot be helped. There's nothing you can do to help them. They don't want to be helped. And if they had any guts, they'd start their own goddamn political party and get out of ours.
James, Jimmy, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, nobody's ever accused the left of being, well, that's the word I'm groping for here, smart, because they're not. Because they are ideologically so entrenched that this is what they want. And I'm sorry, your party may just be way too far gone to be fixed. At this point, think about all the things that even you, Jim, fight President Trump on. Things that Bill Clinton espoused. RFK Jr. yesterday said that welfare needs to be tied to workfare. That if you're going to be getting a check from the government, you need to also be working. That we should not just be funding people who do nothing. What a radical idea. I mean, the Democrats and the mainstream lying media jumped all over that yesterday. Funny thing is, you know where the whole concept of workfare came from? Newt Gingrich working with your old boss, Bill Clinton, tying welfare to workfare. See, a lot of what Donald Trump is doing right now is simply 1990s Democrat policy with some Reagan-esque conservatism thrown in there and a whole bunch of just old-fashioned common sense. No. Trans boys, or I should say trans girls, do not get to play female sports. The wokeism is over. People have had it with that crap. Even young Democrat males have had it with that.
Right now, what I think happened last election is younger men, they would rather vote for somebody who, even if they don't completely agree with, they don't feel judged by, than somebody who they do agree with, that they feel like they have to walk on eggshells around constantly because they're going to be judged or ostracized or excommunicated. And what's interesting about this moment is it feels like the two parties in some senses have flipped, where, Republicans used to be the judgmental in many ways. And since many Democrats, despite us, I would say for most of us coming from the right place of wanting to do the right thing, we've created a culture where we say, well, if you say the wrong thing, you're excommunicated. And that's just not how human beings work. Nobody is perfect, but ultimately what we have to do here is figure out how to bring people back in and work towards the bigger goal of advancing the future of this country and helping young people especially get by so that they're able to focus on their lives and, getting with a young woman or something like that instead of how are they going to pay their rent, for example, or how are they working their 2 jobs. Young people should be able to focus on what young people should be focused on, which is how to get laid and how to go and have fun.
David Hogg for president, ladies and gentlemen.
David Hogg, the former vice chair, this is a kid who rose to fame over, his faking being at the Parkland shooting and his hatred of guns. I mean, look at him. He definitely needs a few testosterone shots. He is a soy boy, and apparently he is the Democratic version of this is what a male is. He's not a male, but he does kind of get it that their party has gone so woke that they're forcing males out. Well, duh. Real guys don't want to be a part of that mess over there in the Democratic Party, David, because it is just, as James Carville once said, a bunch of preachy women who won't let men be men. And it's interesting because I can't even define a woman, but yet they want to project on what a man is and should not be. But David Hogg, I will say this, though, the young men, and I'm not saying that they aren't looking to go out and have fun and get with women, which, by the way, what a slight on the LGBTQ community. You're going to get spanked for that one. A lot of young men have a lot of other things on their mind, too. Their career, they want to make money, they'd like to have a family, they want to prosper, they want to have the American dream. So there's a lot more at play here, David, but I at least give you credit for having the guts to go on Bill Maher and say that and ending your own political career, because as soon as you said that on Friday, on Monday, the Democratic Party came up with a procedural way to get you ousted as the vice chair, that they didn't, quote, follow all of the rules that you were elected under, and therefore your election is null and void. Proving once again the Democrats, when they don't like the way the game is going, in the middle of the game, they hit the restart on the video console. Or they just declare some new rule. When Hillary Rodham Clinton was losing the primary, magically there were superdelegates that showed up that made sure she crossed the finish line. When Bernie Sanders was beating Joe Biden for the Democratic nomination, magically his was disqualified from certain places on the primary ballot. I mean, Democrats just constantly change the goalposts and change the rules so that they, quote, always win. I mean, and then they wonder why they get accused of election interference. But that is, and they do it to each other. And so now David is out because even a woke soy boy like David is apparently not woke enough for them. But back to Jimmy Carville. You had this right before the election, and you didn't listen to your own advice.
None of it makes sense. So please explain the hemorrhaging of the black vote, particularly black men.
What's happened, I've said this before, part of it is a male problem. We have a huge male problem.
Yes, sir.
We have a huge male problem all across the board, but particularly, I hate this term, but I'll use it, communities of color, like as if all people that are not white are the same. It's stupid. And I do think, and people got a little upset with me when I told Maureen, New York Times, but I think Democratic culture has too many preachy females. It's too much. Don't eat hamburgers. Don't watch football. All right, wear condom. Like, man, leave me alone. You okay? I got a life to lead. Guy works at a tire repair shop in suburban Atlanta. Working 50 hours a week. Making $16.50 an hour, and he wants to watch the football game. He wants to smoke dope and drink beer, and then everybody's telling him he's slothful, and they reject that. And I just think some of it is cosmopolitan condensation, if you will. Like you need to lead the kind of life we lead, not the kind of life you lead. It pisses people off.
And you guys ran Kamala anyway. And then you were one of the people, James, that said, people aren't voting for Kamala because they're sexist. No, they aren't voting for Kamala for the very reasons you just pointed out. And your entire party is now run that way. And the so-called males that are there kowtow to the leftist female point of view. Leftist women are killing your party. Period. Party's over.